This video does not call for violence. The video shows the process of leaf feeding of a predatory insect. If you are an impressionable person, please stop watching this video. Hello, today we will be something new. I managed to get a real antlion in the terrarium. To do this, I needed a small square aquarium and a package of ordinary sand, which can be bought at any pet store. Now we pour sand into the aquarium and level it, to make it more convenient to observe the movement of the antlion. Now we can launch our predator. Please welcome. Here is the antlion itself. Now you may wonder, is it a lion? What a small bug! But don't jump to conclusions. Let's first understand who is an antlion. Antlions are a family of insects from the order of the Coleoptrata, four-winged resembling dragonflies, insects with a wingspan of up to 15 centimeters. The wings are long, with a dense network of veins, completely transparent or with a dark pattern. They fly slowly. Adult antlions are predators that prey off flying insects. Now, some of you will have a question. But this beetle does not look like what you are describing. The fact is that development of this insect goes with complete transformation. There are stages of eggs, larva, pupa or nymph, and imago. The larvae are distinguished by large, jagged on the inner edge, jaws and a short, wide abdomen. These larvae are also active predators. In most species, they lie in wait for prey by burrowing near the surface of the soil, or construct characteristic traps in sandy soils, in which they can catch small insects by digging into the sand. It turns out, thanks to such an unusual way of catching insects, many of you have heard about the antlion. The exact meaning of the name antlion is unknown. It is believed to refer to ants, which make up a large proportion of the prey of the larvae of this group of insects. Antlion simply means hunter. The term goes back to antiquity. The Greek myrmekolon is the addition of the words myrmiko, which means ant, and leon, which means lion. The word myrmekolon first appears in the Septuagint, where it is translated from Hebrew as lion. According to one version, the name antlion arose due to a misunderstanding. In Strabo's geography, it was said that many lions, which are called ants, live in Ethiopia. Then Strabo, speaking of the Arabian lion, called in an ant, and the translator created the name myrmekolon, which later entered the literature. The oldest known text where the word myrmekolon refers to an insect is the Cyrenids, 4th century AD. It describes myrmekolon as one of the 7 species of ants. Large, winged, colorful and predatory, but with a short lifespan. Was this the same insect that is now called the antlion? We don't know. As for our antlion, it's time to feed it. And before you continue watching this video, I would like to tell you that I also feel sorry for the ants. But since the antlion must eat ants, it must be fed with them. The antlion has already prepared his sand trap, but unfortunately made it not deep enough. And now he's faced with a problem because of which he cannot catch a single ant so far. In fact, after the series of unsuccessful attempts to hunt ants, our hunter began to change tactics and periodically changed his location, constantly burrowing into the sand. To show these shots, I had to spend the whole day, and only closer to the night. The antlion dug a relatively deep funnel in the sand and waited for its prey. This time luck was on the side of the hunter, and the antlion immediately tried to grab the ant. After successfully capturing the ant with its claws, it tries to tighten it under a layer of sand in the center of its trap in every possible way. Ants, in turn, have something like a remote connection with other ants, releasing an alarm pheromone. An ant caught in a trap calls for help from a second ant. An alarm pheromone is a volatile chemical compound released by some species of insects in the event of a predatory attack, which can serve as a signal for an immediate flight. For example, for aphids, or aggression for ants, bees, hornets, termites. Unfortunately, the observer is faced with a choice: what to do in this case? To save the doomed ant or leave the predatory hungry? After all, if the predator does not receive ants for food or other insects, it will die. And if you do not save the ant, it will also die from the tenacious ticks of the antlion. Unfortunately, in nature, this choice happens all the time. How would you act in such a situation? Write your thoughts in the comments. Would you save the ant or would you keep watching? After the antlion has sucked out all the nutrients from the first ant, with the help of claws, he throws the lifeless body out of the funnel to the side and starts hunting. At this time, the alarm pheromone is still active near the funnel, thereby attracting a second ant, which is still hoping to save someone. And he falls into a deadly trap himself. This is a frightening and amazing way to catch ants using their own mistake, which is supposed to save the lives of ants. In nature, there are no happy cases when it comes to some kind of predators. I wonder if such an antlion could eat a large cockroach. If I understand from your likes that you are interested, we will find it out in the next video. I hope you really found it interesting, informative and exciting. If so, be sure to like the video and support our project.
Hi. We continue to try to surprise you, and therefore today you will find out what happens if a house centipede sees a large flock of cockroaches. To do this, we need a small aquarium in which there is sand. Now that everything is ready, let's remind those who did not watch the first part of the video. There the house centipede met with a small flock of flies that she was catching. After such a hunt of the house centipede, its habitat looks like some kind of battlefield. There are parts from the insects that it took for food everywhere. The house centipede, or as it is also called Scutigera coleoptrata, is a centipede from the order of house centipedes of the class of Bologna. An adult house centipede reaches a length of 35 to 60 millimeters. The body color is yellowish gray or brown with 3 reddish purple or bluish stripes along the body. The legs are also striped. I decided to clean the place of her hunting from dead insects and decided to simply sprinkle the parts of insects that are difficult to pick up with tweezers with sand using an ordinary brush. Now that everything is ready, we will check if the Turkmen cockroaches, which are often used to feed predatory reptiles and insects as the main food source, are suitable for the house centipede. At first, I decided to put 3 cockroaches in the terrarium in order to observe the behavior of the house centipede when it sees them. The house centipede did not immediately like such a company of insects that were not familiar to it. The second reason why it did not want to catch cockroaches is that it was probably not hungry, since I feed her regularly and make sure that it is comfortable in the terrarium. At first it tried to avoid direct contact with these cockroaches. I've made an observation for 3 hours, and since the house centipede most often hunts at night, I had to leave the cockroaches with it for the night, and by the morning I saw that all 3 cockroaches were dead. This suggests that house centipeders could be useful even in catching cockroaches, but most often in rooms where cockroaches live, there are a lot of house centipeders, which is why I decided to simulate a similar situation and place a large number of cockroaches near the house centipeder. I did not count them, but it seems to me that there are about 100 of them in the container. When I bought bottles with these cockroaches, there were 100 cockroaches in each bottle. I had 3 bottles, and from those 3 bottles left so many cockroaches. The thing is that cockroaches are prone to cannibalism, and in about 1 week they could reduce their numbers due to the fact that they have been eating each other all this time, which is why you can notice a lot of leftovers from cockroaches in the container. Cockroaches for a person can be compared to a natural disaster, and when there are a lot of them in one place, it becomes almost impossible to get rid of them. But how will the house centipeder behave if it finds itself in such a situation? After all, cockroaches are a source of food for it, but will it hunt individuals? And if this happens, how will it choose whom to catch? When I placed all the cockroaches to the house centipeder, it immediately began to avoid contact with them. While it often tried to raise its body with its long legs to protect herself from direct contact with these insects. Some of the cockroaches began to eat the dead cockroaches that this house centipeder had previously destroyed. This is just direct evidence that cockroaches can eat each other. If you observe the behavior of the house centipeder, you can draw a simple conclusion. When the house centipeder sees a large cluster of insects, it tries to avoid direct contact with them, which means that if you put the house centipeder in a room where there will be a large cluster of cockroaches, it tries to leave this room. Or catch cockroaches one at a time, where it would be possible for it, but given the fact that cockroaches can breed quickly, one house centipeder would not cope with such a difficult task. That is why it is very important to take care of such beautiful centipedes and in no case destroy them. I hope this episode was interesting for you. If so, be sure to like this video. And by the way, we forgot about our tradition. What name would you like to give to this house centipeder? Write the name options in the comments, and together we will choose a name for it.
The video shows the process of feeding a predatory insect. If you are an impressionable person, please stop watching this video. Hello, today there will be something new for you. Finally, I managed to get a real wasp spider in the terrarium. The main character of our video is named Edge Brunik, in honor of the Danish zoologist Morten Tran Brunik. It is also called the tiger edgeop and the wasp spider, obviously because of its appearance, but not for its predatory nature. The upper side of the spider's abdomen is painted with yellow, black and white stripes. Thanks to this color, it really resembles a wasp. I was lucky to get a female and a male of this species. The male differs by its size. It is much smaller than the female, and the abdomen itself is longitudinal and elongated. It's interesting to know why. So, because in the nature, nothing happens for no reason. We're probably dealing with mimicry. The spider wants to be like a wasp, so that it is not touched by predators. The wasp spider came to this look in the result of natural selection. Because of such resemblance to a wasp, I decided to find out what will happen if a wasp spider and common wasps saw each other. I was lucky to get a wall hornet's nest in which the wasps are. Now, my task is to lower this hornet's nest so that the wasps inside the terrarium come out of the container and observe further what is happening. Since the main character of this video is a wasp spider, we will continue to talk about the features of this species. The bite of such a spider is quite painful, but in most cases its poison is not dangerous for humans. The sting of an edgeop is comparable to the sting of a bee or wasp. The fact is that the wasp spider has rather strong jaws, and it is able to bite through the skin relatively deeply and then put poison into the wound. So, a job is poisonous. However, its poison is intended for grasshoppers and their relatives from the Coleoptrata order, which are hunted by a job. A spider may well bite a human, but it is not capable of causing any harm. Although, again, there is one stipulation. The body of some people is especially sensitive to certain substances. For example, to spider venom. In this case, it causes anaphylactic shock, a powerful response of the immune system that threatens life. However, eating, say, peanuts can lead to anaphylactic shock. Sensitive people need very little of it. And also a bee sting, which can also cause anaphylactic shock. And also a bee sting, which can also cause anaphylactic shock. So, how does the wasp spider catch its prey? Most often, these spiders weave beautiful webs of cobwebs. The finished trap and net is very beautiful, and in its center there is always a spider that looks like a wasp. Sometimes the spider is located on the underside of the web, spreading its long legs wide and patiently waiting for the next victim to fall into the trap. And if you touch this spider with a wand, it begins to stagger on its web in a very interesting way. Even 20 years ago, no one saw these spiders, and now it can be found almost everywhere, mainly in dry meadows. According to the agency, this is mainly due to the movement of some species, including arachnids, to the north, into areas atypical for their residence. Such migration is one of the evidence of climate warming, which is not good for all mankind. Well, as for our spiders, in about 6 hours they wove the simplest web that the wasp managed to get into. And while it was immobilized, one of the spiders sucked all the nutrients out of it. It turns out that spiders do not see a family relationship with wasps and can perceive them as prey. If you want to know how these spiders catch grasshoppers and whether they can catch big locusts, write "I want" in the comments. This video does not call for violence. It shows the natural process of feeding Scolopendra. Hello, we're still trying to surprise you. And today you will find out what will happen if a Scolopendra sees a leech. According to Wiki, ringed Scolopendras belong to the family of the Centipedes, of the order of Centipedes. They live in our region and are real predators. In principle, they catch everything that they can eat. In fact, we're still lucky that the size of the centipedes that live in our country does not exceed 15 or 20 centimeters. Because the largest specimens from southern countries are so big that attack lizards, tarantulas, rodents and bats. For shelter, centipedes choose dangers, basements, trees, old houses, animal burrows and rocky slopes. In a word, if there is a gap somewhere, then an unusual and pleasant surprise may await you in it. Skelependra prefer to hunt at night, but if the night is colder than the day, nothing will stop her from going for a walk during daylight hours. During the mating season in early summer, they are often found in pairs. So, why is Skelependra dangerous to humans? I think this question is of interest to many. It is worth remembering Skelependra is an aggressive and fearless insect. She attacks an opening or someone who shows interest in her, regardless of his size. Earlier on our channel, we already had several episodes about Skelependra. And in one of these episodes, Skelependra itself became the prey of Tetradon. The danger of centipedes for human lies in the fact that centipedes bite through human skin and secret poison that causes pain, burning, erythema, edema and lymphangitis. Dizziness, nausea, anxiety and even kidney failure are possible. In the US, most centipede bites are from the desert centipede, which can grow up to 15 centimeters in length. When Skelependra bites, it injects poison, and inflammation, swelling, redness occur around the site of the lesion. The victim has a fever and headache, aching joints. Sometimes there are hallucinations or a very severe variant, suffocation. Scolopendra has impressive jaws, but in order to cause harm, she doesn't have to bite. In an irritated state, the entire body of a centipede releases poison. It simply flows down the legs of an insect. Upon contact with human skin, poisoning occurs. The trace that the centipede just crawled looks like a red line with rows of dots. A strong burning sensation is felt at the contact site. There are also other symptoms described above as with a bite. While I was telling you about the consequences of Skelependra bites, I think you have already noticed how I place a medium-sized leech on it. At some point, the centipede ran up to the leech and began to study it. But most of the time, she randomly ran all over the territory of the terrarium. A little later, I placed a large Hessian Madagascar cockroach next to it, and at some point in time it seemed to me that the centipede sniffed at the cockroach more often. Of course, today you did not see the spectacular attacks of the centipede, but on the other hand, you learned for yourself that the centipede has no interest in leeches. And if you were really interested in the question, what will happen if the centipede sees a leech, then you have received an answer to your question. To be honest, I have more questions. Why the centipede didn't hunt the cockroach? If you have thoughts about this, write them in the comments. Be sure to like the video if it was interesting. The video shows the process of leaf feeding of the bearded gamma. If you are an impressionable person, please stop watching this video. Hello! Today there will be something new for you. Today you will find out what will happen if a bearded gamma meets a small oceanic crayfish. For this purpose we need a terrarium and, of course, the bearded dragon. It is the second name of this lizard. Just look at this beautiful specimen. This color is special and breeders call it citrus. Throughout the history of the channel we have repeatedly shot videos about this unusual lizard. And this lizard can hardly fit into this small terrarium. Early in the same aquarium, the lizard felt suspicious, but I think it's time to change the filming location for it soon. Yes, this aquarium is for filming only. And the lizard lives in another spacious terrarium with two types of lighting: a drinking bowl, shelter and a wooden branch on which the lizard likes to rest. And here is the red Florida crayfish. At the moment it is not large. It is also called the swamp crayfish, and it won the interest of European aquarists in 1973. Due to its relatively small size, interesting coloration and undemanding nature, the Florida crayfish has become popular among aquarists of all countries. When I put a container with water and this small crustacean on the territory of a bearded gamma, the lizard almost immediately began to show interest in the ongoing events. But it didn't take any action, and all over the look of the lizard it was noticeable that it was waiting for me to help, or until I give it its prey. This indicates how much the lizard has already become tame. By the way, do you think such a tame lizard could adapt to natural conditions? Or would she in nature wait until someone gives her something? It is now clearly seen that the lizard almost instantly grabbed its prey, and the second time almost completely swallowed this crustacean. You may ask, why did I give a small crustacean to this huge lizard? But there is an explanation for this question. The fact is that crustaceans are a low-calorie product with a fat content less than 1%. Crayfish meat contains trace elements: calcium, iodine, phosphorus, ferrum, magnesium, potassium, sulfur and cobalt. and vitamins C, D, E, K, B1, B2, B12, B6, and folic acid, necessary for the body of the lizard. Just look how teeny this lizard was. She was not even able to eat a large cockroach, which cannot be said about her appearance now. And even the common locust seemed gigantic for her. But it was the proper care of the lizard that helped to me to grow such a giant out of her. And this is far from her final size. Of course, it is possible to replace some feeding with powdered impurities with the same macronutrients. Hello, today there will be a very interesting video. I managed to get a couple of ticks in order to show you what the reaction of ants to mites will be. I can confidently say that such situations happen in nature. Probably at least once in your life each of you has encountered such unpleasant insects as ticks. They can be different. For example, Argus tick, pasture tick, meadow tick, brown dog tick. Right now you see a brown dog tick. But who are these ticks and why do people not like contact with these insects? This is what we need to figure out today. Previously, the channel already had episodes about ticks, and then we showed the reaction of ticks to a leech. And can a tick stick to the skin of a leech? Back then this video gained more than 5 million views. The ticks cannot stick to the skin of a leech. But the idea itself was interesting. A little later in the same issue, I decided to check what happens if a praying mantis sees a tick. Is it suitable for praying mantis food, and can praying mantises hunt ticks in nature, thereby reducing the tick population in natural conditions? The answer to this question turned out to be amazing. Because the praying mantis's mandibles are strong enough to bite through the thick skin of the tick, and as a result the praying mantis took the tick as food, thus confirming its predominance in the food chain. Now we will return to our experiment, which already shows an example of how easily ticks can overcome almost any obstacle, even if it is a glass. I also have a small group of ants, consisting of regular worker ants and guards, which are slightly larger than their counterparts. In order to understand whether ants can be useful in the fight against ticks, we should put these ants in a terrarium with these ticks. That's all. So, who is this tick? Contrary to popular belief, ticks are not insects. They are invertebrate arthropods and belong to the class of arachnids. Ticks are one of the types of spiders, and their number significantly exceeds the number of representatives of the order of spiders. They are distinguished from insects by the structure of the body. The tick has 4 pairs of limbs, a head connected to the chest, and it also has no antenna. It's like a watermelon. Watermelon is a berry and not a fruit, only because it has a large number of features which characterize berries. It's probably no secret that a tick can bite. A tick bites a person or animal in order to feed on its blood. Thanks to it, the parasites multiply and survive the cold seasons. As a rule, female ticks attack more often. To conceive as many new individuals as possible, they need to drink the amount of blood, which is several times more than their body weight. This may take them up to 10 days. That is why, in case of a bite, you must promptly contact a specialist or remove the tick yourself. Males, as a rule, are content with lymph. As for the reaction of ants to tick, I think you yourself noticed that ants try to attack ticks. Some of the ants even carry the tick from one place to another. But unfortunately, they fail to bite through the thick skin of these ticks. You and I still have one more important question. Is it really only because of a bite people are so afraid of ticks? Today, scientists have studied over 54,000 different types of ticks. For example, when bitten by a person or animal, an excited tick is able to fix itself on the body and feed on blood for more than a week. Its bite can cause tick-borne encephalitis and paralysis in humans. The Argus tick belongs to the subspecies of the excited tick and also poses a serious danger to both humans and livestock. The pasture tick carries encephalitis, brucellosis, and listeriasis. The meadow tick is a carrier of such infections as tick-borne encephalitis, paralysis, and plague. Dog ticks are the most prolific among relatives. However, it attacks not only dogs, but rodents, and birds can become its victims. Hello friends from Kiev. We keep making new videos despite what is going on in our country at the moment. Today we will see something interesting. But impressionable people are not recommended to watch this video, as it will include leaf feeding. Let's go! This is a bearded gamma. It is also called a bearded dragon. It has a beautiful pattern on its back and prickly spikes around the perimeter of the body. This lizard loves to eat different insects, such as a cockroach or a mealworm. Yes, this lizard is predatory, but in adulthood it begins to switch to vegetarian food. While it is a predator, it must be given the opportunity to sometimes hunt even in a terrarium. We repeatedly offered cockroaches to the lizard, since cockroaches and larvae have sufficient protein content. But there is also even more of it in newborn mice, which we have already offered this lizard as food, and she did not refuse. These mice are sold frozen, and we thought, if one reptile eats mice, why don't we try to diversify the diet of a lizard with such a delicacy, as it is also a reptile? In general, I try to diversify the diet of the lizard as much as possible.
What?
For example, when it was smaller, I gave it live locusts for food. Locusts are rich in a huge amount of protein, and this locust is even used in agriculture. Grinding dry locusts into powder and mixing them into food, for example as a food supplement in poultry farms. And this means that everything is fine with locusts. There is a lot of leaf feeding in this video. But it is an integral part of the natural essence of this lizard. In the terrarium, the bearded dragons should be fed a variety of leaf foods to mimic natural conditions, in which the lizard has a wide variety of food. Unfortunately, not all insects or even mice have the number of essential vitamins that this lizard needs for healthy growth. And in order to replenish the supply of vitamins in its body, today I will offer this lizard to eat a small frog. Unfortunately, these frogs are not sold frozen, and as I said earlier, the lizard must be allowed to hunt, so that it does not feel uncomfortable living in a closed environment. As for frogs, they contain a huge amount of different vitamins, and this was a discovery for me. The chemical composition of frogs contains vitamins A, B1, B2, B5, B6, B9, B12, D, E, K, and vitamin PP, as well as the minerals necessary for the body: potassium, calcium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, copper, iron, sulfur, phosphorus and sodium. Little mice do not have such a rich list of vitamins and minerals, and even insects cannot have such a list of vitamins. That is why, in addition to frozen mice, snakes are periodically given frogs. This is the real natural vitamin complex. Our lizard also did not refuse such a treat and almost immediately ate the frog. I hope this video was informative, useful and interesting for you. If so, be sure to support our channel with a like and write a comment what would you like to see in the new video. And that's all we have for now.
What?
This video does not call for violence. The video shows the process of live feeding of a predatory insect. If you are an impressionable person, please stop watching this video. Hello, I think you have noticed that our videos have become less frequent. This is due to the fact that our power system has regular breakdowns every time after new attacks. I personally often don't have electricity, and therefore the constant opportunity to make my videos more often and afford to shoot them for several days as I did before. Therefore, exactly at the beginning of the release, I ask you to support this video as much as possible and be sure to like it. This will help the release get a little more views and possibly bring it to the recommendations. So, as you already understood, I managed to get praying mantises even in such difficult times. This unusual species is called the devil's flower. So far, these are the mega of the second mold, so they look microscopic. And at that age, they feed on flies, fruit flies. Their first name is Blepharophobis medica. The species lives in North Africa, parts of the Mediterranean, the Middle East and South Asia, and the Canary Islands. You can find references to these insects under other names, devil's flower, as well as the Egyptian flower, thistle or Arabian praying mantis. The species was described by the Danish entomologists John and Christian Fabricius in 1775. Of course, I have already talked a lot about antlions and previous videos. They are already on the channel. More previously, I talked about antlion larvae that prey on small insects, digging cunning traps in the sand from which it is impossible to escape. The fact is that sand crumbles under the paws of an insect, pushing the insect towards the antlion larva, which waits in the center of such a trap as a kraken. Now is not the season for antlion larvae, and they practically do not hunt, even when they are warm with comfortable conditions for them. I decided to dig up antlion larvae and see how it would react to a small praying mantis without sand, and in general, how the praying mantis will react to such a predator. Being a predator itself, on the surface of the sand, the antlion does not feel comfortable. He clearly does not like the idea of being dug out of the sand. That is why he tries to burrow into the sand as quickly as possible. The small praying mantis is also puzzled by an incomprehensible meaning, and he too can be understood. He had never seen an antlion before. And this antlion, for some unknown reason, has grown to non-standard sizes. On the one hand, it seems that they are almost the same, but the antlion has a thick and massive abdomen, and the praying mantis looks like a baby. His body is not so massive, and therefore the praying mantis tries to avoid meeting with the lion. In this interesting company, I also placed the smallest cockroach, which is used as live food for predatory insects or reptiles. But even a cockroach was for this little praying mantis something huge, which you can only look at from the side. My conclusions are simple. If antlions had a so-called hunting season, and if this praying mantis fell into a sand trap, he would not have gotten out of there. But today this praying mantis is very lucky. The video shows the process of live feeding of a predatory arachnid. If you are an impressionable person, please stop watching this video. Hello, today there will be something new for you. You will find out what will happen if the wolf spider sees a flock of cockroaches. Recently, my parents treated me with grapes, and when I took out a bunch of grapes, a spider crawled out of it. It seemed interesting to me. After digging around on the internet, I came to the conclusion that it is very similar to a wolf spider. When I settled him in this plastic container, he wove a web, so he will hunt in his unusual place. And so that the cockroaches could climb inside, I made 4 paper bridges. The adventure begins. So who are wolf spider? Hona is their first name. Pseudotarantulas or wolf spiders are a family of aranomorphic spiders. They are rather large arthropods. In some cases, their size can exceed 30 millimeters. In total, there are 2,367 species of such spiders. Most often, they can be found in countries with a warm climate. Pseudotarantulas live in grassy meadows, shrubs, among fallen leaves and under stones. But their most favorite places are places with a high humidity, forests located near water sources. Spiders live in minks wrapped inside with a thick layer of cobwebs. They leave their home at night to hunt insects or other smaller spiders. These spiders do not weave webs directly as traps. Then my question is, how could this spider be in a bunch of grapes if they usually live underground? Write your answers below. Maybe I was wrong about the species of the spider. In any case, this spider turned out to be very interesting in behavior. When I put a flock of cockroaches into his terrarium, at the very beginning he got scared, but after some time he began to make the first attacks on cockroaches. The spider began to actively control the territory around its web and reacted to every movement of cockroaches. And after about 5 hours, the spider decided to try to attack the cockroach again. And here is the very successful attempt. The spider caught the cockroach and proceeded to eat it. Are pseudotarantulas dangerous for humans? There is a great answer. For humans, the spiders are not dangerous. On the internet there are many videos on which, upon contact with a person, the wolf spider runs away and does not attack. In this video I have a male, but I will tell you a little secret. I have 2 spiders, a male and a female. And for me it is important to understand. Would you like to continue this video? For example, what will happen if a male and a female see each other? Can they hunt together? Well, or what will happen if a pseudotarantula sees a real tarantula? In general, write your thoughts in the comments. It will be very interesting for me to read. I think that the wolf spider got its name because of its color. Besides, they are both predators. It seems to me that these are really interesting spiders. This video does not call for violence. The video was created for scientific purposes, to see the reaction of a scorpion to artificial intelligence. Hello, I think many viewers of the channel are already familiar with this little robot. But for those who see it for the first time, this robot is called Anki Cosmo. It is endowed with the simplest artificial intelligence, which, when connected to the internet, can self-learn. Remember the names of people, recognize some animals, and sometimes behaving completely unpredictably, because of which it has received such huge interest around the world. Now I remove the standard bucket from this robot, which could be called his hand, and attach something similar to metal teeth. This robot will turn on for the first time this year. At the beginning of this year, there was no time for video at all due to the difficult situation in our country. And now I'm even wondering, how will this robot behave? Will it be aggressive or, on the contrary, scared? We'll check it out soon. At the moment there is no electricity in my city, due to the regular shelling of critical important objects of the city. All my filming equipment runs on batteries, and this robot has to be charged from a power bank. As soon as the robot was launched and connected to the internet on emergency power, he immediately began to show discontent. Perhaps this is a coincidence, but the robot really began to swear. It even seemed to me that he began to portray some kind of dog with his behavior. So I've charged Cosmo Robot and I'm lowering it to a huge scorpion. Now it is very important to follow the behavior of the scorpion on this little robot, and vice versa. At some point it is noticeable that the scorpion is very interested in this robot. This surprises me a lot, and sometimes even a robot shows interest in a scorpion. Here the robot saw its reflection in the glass. Yes, this robot has eyes. It's a small camera built into his head that he can use to explore the world around him. Scorpion was fun, but what about a huge cockroach? In the center of the terrarium I put a piece of carrot so that the cockroach could have a snack and, so to speak, eat its stress. Wow, just look how the cockroach climbed on top of the scorpion. And the scorpion at the same time behaves calmly and is not as interested in a cockroach as it was interested in a robot. This is really strange behavior for a scorpion. After all, a robot is not a living being. But such a cockroach can become a meal for a scorpion. Scorpions are real predators and feed on insects. In some they inject their venom, immobilizing their prey in this way, and then proceed to eat. I think today this cockroach was very lucky that the scorpion wanted to feast on the Cosmo Robot, because the robot, in his opinion, looked much more appetizing than some cockroach. By the way, if you want to see the Vector robots in the next release or the Vector and Cosmo in one video, be sure to write "I want" in the comments. And don't forget to like this video, so I will find out what you are interested in and what you want to continue this unusual column. And that's all for now. Bye everyone! Peace and blessings to you and your home.